It's the foreheads. It's the foreheads. We're in our rooms and we're talking about AI.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the greatest disaster on the internet. It's the Foreheads Podcast. I'm Goldenboy. You got Sideshow, Bren, Reinforce, the huge here to talk about things and maybe, just maybe, improve your life. That's right.
I don't. Have
That's
we
what
ever
this
improved
podcast is all
anyone's
about.
life?
I think we
yeah,
have.
plenty.
What?
Incredible.
Your own life.
Well, I don't know if you saw. I'm pretty sure you guys did, but there was actually a homie, one of the Foreheads homies, made an animated short of one of our more memorable stories. About I believe this was when Johnny talked about his being from a tree and fake trees or real trees or whatever.
It was
Christmas.
when
It was a good story.
Bren
It
was.
was my
It was when
story.
Bren was trying to tell his day that he murdered his fish story, and
Yeah.
instead it
Story.
became us just discussing how ridiculous real Christmas trees are.
Yeah, which kind of is apropos for the podcast.
Yeah, it really is.
Bren did get to tell that fish murder story though.
It is.
So
it feels like I've told that story multiple times.
Yeah.
No, you only told it that one time.
Did I?
Yeah, it just feels like you told it multiple
I
times.
just
'cause it
relived
took you
it.
multiple times to get through it because we
Yeah.
kept interrupting you.
Well, Bren has told it multiple times in person too, when we haven't done the podcast. Like that was one of the first, because we actually tried to make a podcast in like 2018 on our couch. And Bren had all these incredibly weird ideas. Like what happens if like a military base went back to see dinosaurs or whatever? Like how long would they survive?
I
Stuff
think
like
they
that.
would survive for a long time.
They would
Yeah.
get murdered and run out of resources and die.
All right,
Yeah.
hold up. Shut the fuck up.
Wait. Hold on. What's the argument of whether or not?
Imagine a military base in modern years, okay? Like a modern day military base in the United States of America with a population of 10,000. Let's say an
Okay.
equal 50-50 split in genders,
Which is
Okay.
not
Just to be-
realistic, but yeah, sure.
just to give them a helping hand here. If that military base was just chunked out, transported 70 million years in the past, how long do you think they survive for?
Now, you said they would survive to present day and repopulate the Earth.
They wouldn't survive till proper. It's impossible for them to survive till present day.
Well, no, I don't mean the actual individual people, but I mean
No. But I mean, a meteor would hit and would wipe them out. But
Okay, right, but you're saying that
But
they
you
would
don't think
survive
with
for
all
5
of their
million years?
technology, they could shoot the meteor down?
No.
Now we're getting to even more ridiculous points. I don't think
It
they would
depends on
even
what you have
survive the
with you.
beginning They wouldn't even
Well, they
survive
need
the
to survive
beginning.
in the beginning. But
They
I think
don't
they'd
have-
be able.
They don't have bullets. They don't have fuel.
Yes, they do.
They don't have enough for
They
5
have a
million
limited
years.
stockpile.
They don't have
But they
enough
don't
to be able to set up the stockpiles in the first place.
They only need enough. Listen, I've seen and read The Walking Dead. They did it in that
I don't know if
show.
that's nonfiction.
In that show, they start making their own bullets and their own fuel. Okay, it's very easy to do
Is it?
once you know how.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Bren, former Tesco employee, beef farmer, killer of fish.
Yeah.
First coronavirus case apparently,
Third.
or third.
in Japan.
How do you easily make bullets?
So you gotta get a metal press, and you gotta create the casings first.
How do you make a metal press when you're in the
How
prehistoric?
do you get metal? How do you get more metal than you have? That is
So,
the core problem.
You gotta recycle a lot. Okay. Well, so you're
So
gonna
you
lay
kill
out. You're
something
gonna
and
lay
you
out.
go and you pull the bullets
You
out
have
of the
to.
body.
You have to lay out your issues, right? Not your issues, but your most demanding problems.
Right.
Food and water being number one.
Sure. But food isn't hard. You can hunt dinosaurs. I don't see that as
Yes.
being a problem.
Yeah, you could hunt dinosaurs.
But you can't farm.
So that's your food problem.
There are no arable crops at that time in the world. Like they
Well, there
literally
are.
just don't exist.
There are.
What do you mean
There'll be
there are?
nuts and berries and that kind of thing.
Right, I'm not sure whether they would be recognizable to current humans.
No, they
Many
wouldn't.
would
But
die in order to
you
find
would
them.
be able to spot the ones that the animals are eating.
But animals frequently eat things that are poisonous to humans.
Yeah, and
Animals eat leaves
Josh,
off the
I'm not
trees.
saying, Josh, there are going to be no casualties. There will be casualties. There will be deaths.
Okay.
There's only
Well, at least we know
10,000 of
death
them
is
to
on
go
the
around.
table.
But it's for the greater good.
God, you
Okay.
sound
Wait,
like
what's
a...
it good for? Oh, them dying for the base?
Yeah, to die
Yeah.
to figure out what plants and nuts are edible.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, medicine is venom, right? You're just eating chemicals that mix up the chemistry in your body, right?
That doesn't make
So,
it
like-
venom.
No, not venom, but it's like there's a word for it.
Drug.
You know? No,
okay,
drug-
yeah. You make a it's like when you cure cancer, right? Like you make
Right,
something
but cancer
that
is a
will-
very specific one where it kills
No,
the
but-
cells. There's many different
Yeah.
types of medication that don't harm
but you make
you.
a killer to kill murder. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
Well, what I'm saying is like the plants, they have like a defense mechanism to protect animals from eating them, right? So they're like, oh, this plant has evolved to survive longer by making sure that animals can't eat them. And then we eat that defense mechanism to change up the chemistry within our own bodies to prevent bad chemicals in our body using the plant's biological chemistry mix-up thingy.
I literally see the
And-
steam coming out of your head as you are trying to make this point. It's
But
impressive.
Not
honestly.
all medication is from plant defense mechanisms. Like some of it is.
Some are.
Yeah, I suppose some.
Well, that was
yeah,
literally what he said.
but not. That's not a general rule. Like there are many plants that actually want to be eaten because that's the way that they pass their seeds is by animals shitting out their seeds later on and dispersing them around the world.
Oh
That's
my god,
most
there's
fruit.
a joke here somehow. There's a joke
Oh
there
yeah,
somehow.
dude. Plant your
What?
seed. Sounds hot. That's really all I got from that.
That
Nice.
ain't it, fam. But
That.
But I
What's
don't know
wrong
if
with
there's
you
anyone
people?
out there that agrees with me, but I do think that they would survive.
also,
quite
this
some
whole
time.
I do want to move on because we have an entire rundown and then we got sidetracked in like the first 2 minutes of the podcast. But
That's a
I don't
classic.
think you could just make like your own gunpowder with like charcoal and potassium nitrate, and then you could just make like in the old pirate
Bro,
ship days. They
where
just
the
made a
fuck are you
cannon.
finding
and they're like,
potassium nitrate?
they're scientists.
You
I
find
don't know.
Googling
you
it.
find
I don't
it.
even
You
know what
find it
potassium
near.
is.
You find it near hot
Mm.
springs, bro.
Yeah.
Potassium.
Because like in the pirate days,
you find a hot spring. It's all around hot springs.
One of the
bro.
most common sources of pure potassium nitrate is stump remover in the United States. You can
Oh,
find
yeah.
it at Lowe's or Home
just
Depot. So
find-
that's where you go. You go to Lowe's and Home Depot. Obviously, you dumbasses. God.
Those
Just Google
wild
it.
stump removers back 70 million years ago.
Yeah.
You
done.
really don't have faith in humanity, do you, Josh?
I don't have
Bro,
faith
look what's
in
happening right now.
Yeah,
Of course, how can you have faith in humanity with what's going on right now?
But I feel like all you need is a strong leader in the military base.
Okay.
They
Well-
quell any sort of
Oh my God.
resistance.
People would just lose all of their morale. They would just
No.
lose their morale and start killing each
People-
other. And
people would
killing
survive.
themselves.
what is
Johnny,
that
what is
movie
it?
called? With like the space soldiers or whatever, and it's like so over the top. It was like released in,
Starship
like,
Troopers. Starship
Yeah.
Troopers.
Oh my god! Could you not see this version of a Starship Troopers with like a military base teleported to dinosaur age?
I'm
And
doing my part.
Bren is an actor in the movie. How can you not see that?
Ah,
That would be
well,
brilliant.
I'm the actor and
Let's
also the
book it.
director and also the producer of this film.
The
'cause
writer.
No one else wants to make it.
No one wants to believe in your dreams.
Dinosaur Troopers.
Oh, Dinosaur Troopers. I like it.
I think
All
they
right.
would survive a decent amount of time.
Okay.
You guys will all die. So here we go. Going into some of our reviews, we got to give a huge shout out to. And by the way, if you want to rate and review us, by all means, please do so on Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on Spotify, and you can also check us out wherever you listen to your podcasting goodness. not Vidlozo actually put up a review on the 24th, which was on Tuesday as of this recording. He said, I only discovered foreheads around the time Bren came back from Seoul, and all it took was one story about a Yakuza man offering him some cocaine at a Yakuza bar in Japan, and I was hooked. Listen, I know people give a lot of flack to certain people on the podcast for having the personality of a burnt piece of white toast, reinforced, but I quite enjoy the combination of Josh, Alyx, Bren, and John. I just have to go out of my way to say that this podcast is way better than Plat Chat. Damn right. And it's also really cool that as a CDL fan as well, I got to see both Alyx and Puckett in their first 4 CDL events. Oh, that was nice of him. Thanks for adding that. I would have never been put onto Valorant and how dope it looks if it wasn't for the foreheads. Also, I'm sure Blizzard's happy about that. Also, I'm sitting here, insult Johnny, just like everyone else, and we're the same age, so that's fun. I know there's comment and reviews all over the place, but it's a gold standard 5-star review, so I'm entitled to this. Love the podcast. I will never stop loving this podcast and the members in it. P.S. Johnny, if you want to fight, I'll gladly fight you and then drink some beer with you after. PPS, Plat Chat really isn't that bad. PPPS, I live about 20 minutes outside of San Francisco, and I also used to live in Boston. Shout out Goldenboy.
Did this guy get commissioned a fucking word count for
the
this
reason
review?
The reason there's a much larger homeless problem in Florida and the majority of the West Coast is because of all the people who sleep outside in the East Coast die overnight.
Is he submitting it for his SATs? Is this an essay that his teacher asked him to do?
That's it for all of our reviews because we have no more time for that segment. All right, moving on.
Someone put a finger up this guy's anus. Holy shit.
Wow. Johnny, people love you, even though you are burnt white toast. It's perfectly fine.
Look at this face. How is this face burnt white toast?
Yeah,
okay?
I know.
You're right. It's
just
just white toast.
Raw white bread.
It's just yeast. It's just dough. You're just
At
dough.
least it's good bread. It'd be good bread.
That's for sure.
Oh, I actually found good bread in LA. For the first...
well, sourdough bread in California is pretty good.
I'm so ready for the sidetrack.
For the first ever time, you know, I've had like all right sourdough. Okay, that's something that LA does fairly well. The focaccia is acceptable. Some of the Mediterranean breads are really good as well. That's not really what I was talking about. But a lot of the classic breads, like your ciabattas and the other loaves that they have in supermarkets and bakeries and all sorts of stuff, is just wank. It's just so wank. And then I went to I got some bread from La Brea. Even the stuff from like proper good bakeries like Porto's was wank, like really terrible bread. I got some bread from La Brea recently during the beginning stages of the quarantine, and it was pretty good. Like it didn't blow my mind, but it was pretty good. It's nice bread. So apparently LA can do it. So what the fuck is everyone else doing wrong? Like, hello? Did La Brea import their water, or are the rest of you just lazy? Can you just not create good bread because you're lazy? Other companies.
This seems like a real personal problem that you have.
I don't think they're lazy, Josh. I think Americans are just used to corn syrup in their bread.
Fam, let me stop you right there. Go to any New York bodega any day of the week.
Okay? Yo, bro, yo, let me stop you right there.
And you're gonna find quality bread, papi, okay?
I got a friend in New York who said it was terrible out there as well. I mean, the bagels are all right, but
who's your friend?
Never had bread.
Who's your friend? Where's he from?
It was Dave. You know Benchmob, the agent in Overwatch. He lives in New York. And he was like, "Yeah, I can't get good bread out here either."
Hello?
Is he a New Yorker though?
What?
Yeah, he's a New Yorker, I think.
But what kind of New Yorker though? Like, is he like one of those imports, or is he like born and bred, lives
I don't
there,
give a fuck.
lived
He's
there his whole life?
xenophobe. I don't know what.
No. I'm just saying because you got a lot of people like Monty, for example, who lived in Williamsburg and then claimed they're from New York, and I'm like, nah, fam, you're not.
Right.
Calm it down.
What's Williamsburg?
Williamsburg
cool
is
name.
basically where like all the hipsters live. All right.
Okay.
You know, they went on all congregated there because it was closer to Manhattan, so that they can go and have their sushi and appletinis and stuff. And
Right.
and then that area became the place where all of those individuals chose to congregate. And then what was even funnier, and well, not funny actually, kind of screwed up. They you know, because rent in that area went so high that they announced that they were shutting down the one train that goes in that area, the L train, right? They announced they were shutting it down for repairs. So a bunch of people who lived in that area that relied on that train to get to work moved, okay? And get this is how screwed up it is. Then they announced, oh no, the train's opening back up, and all those people had already moved. So they left their low rent homes and opened up the rent for so many other people to then go in and pay like $5,000 for a studio apartment. So screw Williamsburg. It ain't real Brooklyn, and I don't care who the hell you are. Get out of New York City. Make your own state.
Jesus.
Sounds like
I
a
don't
Dark
care.
Souls zone.
Yeah. What?
Bro,
I don't care.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Williamsburg. Yeah.
With the way you describe New York, I've been to New York, so I know this isn't true. But it just you paint it in a way that reminds me of the 1976 Warriors film
What?
with gangs going around representing
By
each
the way,
area.
one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies.
Everyone,
all
I
time.
think it's 1968,
You said 76.
Warriors?
76.
So
No, it was 70s. It was 70s.
you've
What
now
the
given
hell are
yourself
we
Oh, it
an
was
talking about?
1979. 1979.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a film called Warriors. That's it's actually a classic film. It's very good.
Yeah, it took place during the blackout, I
Revolution.
believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
not the French Revolution, not 1776.
A lot of ties to Shakespeare in it, but in a more
Yeah.
modern setting of taking place in New York in the 70s.
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess.
really, really good movie, Johnny. If you've never seen it, check it out. They also made a dope video game off of it. So,
Warriors.
Yeah.
The
it's called
Warriors.
The Warriors.
The Warriors. Yeah,
Oh,
but,
you have seen it. You have seen it. It has influenced all forms of like pop culture. The Warriors is like really, really well known.
But you described it.
No.
You described New York as these different districts, and I just imagined that when you go out for food, you have to avoid the gang wars between fucking the Manhattan Raiders and the Brooklyn Ballers. You know, like
You should have said Brawlers. That would have been a good wrestling reference. It's not like that. Okay, it's just that it used to be like that. I will be honest with you. When I was growing up, I was told don't go to Brooklyn, right? Because if you go to Brooklyn, you get
yeah.
shot.
Now look at you. You're part of the problem.
Now I'm in
Living
Brooklyn.
there.
I'm living
Now
here.
you're
Living there.
part of the problem.
But yeah, no, because it used to be dangerous for sure. It used to be dangerous. It used to be, dare I say, a war zone. And that takes us to our next subject: new video games that are coming out.
Wow.
Yeah.
You earn your money, don't
That's
you?
right.
Those
So-
segues.
Josh has muted himself again.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
muted myself up. Yeah, classic.
Wanker.
Classic.
That was the greatest transition, and I still got it. Even though the quarantine has kept me at home, your boy can't quarantine these skills. Anyway, moving forward. So, we got a bunch of new games that just came out: Warzone, Animal Crossing, Doom Eternal, and then the one that honestly shocked me the most was Half-Life Alyx.
Oh
Have you
yeah.
played it?
No, I don't own anything VR. I'm not particularly fond of VR, and mostly because I wear glasses and it's not very comfortable.
Same. But
But it looks cool.
yeah.
It
I've
does.
watched some streams and it literally looks like once again Valve is just like
Knocking
I've
it out
lost
of the
my
park.
words. Yeah, like they've moved the industry forwards in
Yeah.
a way. Like they've revolutionized a genre once again. It's
I've only
actually
heard
insane how good it
incredible
looks.
things about
Yeah.
it. But
It's
I mean,
unreal, right?
would you ever consider buying a VR thing for a game like this? Like, there would have to be
No,
a few
no.
games like this in order for me to consider buying one.
Well, I have the belief that even though VR is really good right now, I still feel like there will be like a next gen kind of revolution next few couple of years. You know, like
Yeah.
just step up the VR game because the technology now is great, but I feel like there is one more step to make it more accessible and
Yeah,
easier.
I'm definitely not there yet either. I've always had my finger to the pulse when it came to VR, but I was more into what Microsoft was doing with the AR stuff. And then that completely, like, just went the way of the dodo. So I am kind of like, it's just not my jam. I think that I don't think that consoles or PC gaming will ever be obsolete. Mobile gaming will ever be obsolete. I don't think VR will ever be a replacement for it. And thus, I don't really have much of a desire to invest into it unless I have like the space or whatever. But even then, I'm just not particularly into it. It would have to be something genre defining. Like,
Do you not think this game might be genre defining
No,
in
I
terms of early VR?
it's definitely the best VR game for sure. I'll give it that much. Because the problem with VR is that they haven't really found a way to make movement feel natural.
I've got the trailer running at the moment, and the way that you move around by clicking the little like legs so that you kind of instantly teleport to a position. It's really weird. Yeah, that's really weird. God, I've been sneezing a lot recently. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Oh,
It's a good
no,
job
no.
I am in
Why are you sneezing so
quarantine.
much?
I mean,
Why are you sneezing so much?
I must be. I think it's because I'm spending more time in the house. I must be. I think I'm probably creating more dust. You know, because dust is mostly dead human skin cells anyway. So because
Whoa,
that's nasty, dude.
I've never thought about that.
because
Wait, that can't be true. So
Yeah,
if your garage is dirty,
Wait,
then
that's how you move?
yeah, you move by kind of teleporting around. Brent,
We're in
welcome
two
to
different
3 minutes
discussions
ago.
here. Yeah, Bren, welcome to the conversation. Johnny,
I've
that's
just
not
seen
why
on
your
video.
garage is dirty.
No,
It's
dust
not,
in your
your
house,
garage
though,
isn't
dust in
just
your
all
home.
dead human skin. Yeah. God, what is, you guys are just, oh Lord, have mercy. This is, Bren, yes, that's how you move.
It makes the game very slow paced when you move around like that, because obviously they're not going to balance the game so that you have to, you know, run away very often or, you know, move your positioning that much.
Yeah, that's why I'm not, like I said, I'm just not there yet. Like and it's a hard problem to solve because VR, the whole point of VR is supposed to be this like immersive experience. And
Right.
whenever you think of VR, you think of like shit like Sword Art Online, where you lay in your bed and there's a chip in your brain and then you just get transported to another universe, which is dope. And I'm totally down for that, but you know, not happening anytime soon.
So-
or like Ready Player One, where you have that
Yeah.
full movement thing about.
In my opinion, the kind of people always, especially from the mainstream, always misunderstand the idea of why keyboard and mouse is frequently more immersive than VR. Like, the idea of a video game is that whatever thought you have of like, oh, I should hit this guy or I should move over here, should be as easily transferable into the game as possible. You don't want a situation where you literally have to do a backflip in order to do a backflip in the game. Like, that would be horrifically non-immersive because you'd have to utilize so much of your body and thought and everything, and you wouldn't even be able to pull it off in the first place. If you can just
That's not true. I could backflip on demand.
If you can just think backflip and execute backflip very quickly, then that makes you immersed in the game because you're almost acting as the character.
Yeah.
Your thoughts are very easily transferred into movement. And
So what
tiny
you're saying
button
is
presses,
we need AI.
Well, no, but tiny button presses are basically that, aren't they? The less you have to think in order to execute things, the more immersed you are in the product. So the more you're like actually running around on a treadmill and running out of breath and stuff, that's not going to be immersive at all. It takes you out of the game and makes you think about your body.
Chip in my brain. Do it, Valve.
I mean,
I'm
you
okay
want a
with
chip
it.
in your brain.
I'll put
Why
a chip
not,
in your
bro?
brain. It won't do anything, but I'll put a chip in your brain.
I'm down with it.
I'm watching the
science.
trailer for it, and it looks like a VR game.
It is.
I don't really see what the hype is around it.
Well, I think the
I think it's because
storyline
it's
is
a
probably
full
very
story.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And nobody's
It's a
really
But
full
it's
done
just
anything
like,
like
it's
this
so
before.
clunky to play.
But have you seen any other VR games that are trying to be similar to this? They're all insanely clunky and without very much story and just kind of gimmicks.
Pull up Doom VFR.
But I think the
trailer
reason
for that, you'll see how clunky that could look versus Half-Life Alyx.
Doom VFR. Okay, I'll put it up now.
So don't get me wrong, love Doom. We're going to talk about it in a second. Probably one of the best shooting games out there. Period.
And this was what, 2 years
hold on.
ago?
But I think
2 years ago.
the reason is
What's the reason, Bren? Break down how you would fix VR, just like how you would ensure that 10,000 military.
well, I
soldiers
think
would survive
the
in
companies have
prehistoric
already
age.
done it. They're just ignoring it until it becomes more affordable and commercialized.
What do you mean?
Like, as in, like, game companies, there was a big wave of VR where people were like, "Oh, we're jumping on the wave of the Oculus, the Oculus Rift, the whatever the different iterations are of it."
PlayStation 1, yeah.
And the thing that a system always needs is game developers making games for it. But there's no incentive for people to make games for it other than if they want to make cool shit. That's like really the only incentive because not many people own VR games. Or
Yeah.
sorry, not many people own VR systems. So what market are you trying to sell to here? It makes way more sense to keep making a game and export it to console than it does to make it for a VR system, because you need so many different little things to make a VR system work. You need space, you need the money in the first place. Often the VR systems are like almost as expensive as a PC
Yeah.
setup.
Mhm.
It's a huge cost. So when you're making these games, like, you're making it for such a small niche audience. And like, I'm pretty deep into video games, but I just wouldn't consider, until it reaches brain and chip levels, I wouldn't consider buying a VR set
But
either,
when
you
it
know?
reaches brain and chip levels, you won't have an option to buy. They'll be forced into your brain when you're born.
Good.
That's what he wants.
I'm
Put a chip
glad.
in my head. Yeah, that is just it's just gonna take a substantial amount of time for them to do that. But you see the Doom VFR one, right? Like, you're literally moving by clicking on the ground, and then it teleports you. And that's just not like,
But that's
as
the
you said,
same
that's
as
just not.
that's the same as Alyx. That's what you do in
No,
Half-Life
but
Alyx.
you no, you actually walk. I think it like auto walks or something like that, and it detects. So like, if you need to skip around somewhere, I think you can do that. But for the most part, you're like walking through. If you look at a lot of the streams on Twitch, like, a lot of people are just slow walking, because the
okay.
game was built for that. It was built for like this slow, steady, methodical kind of just, suspenseful, gameplay.
Yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be for. But hey, it is what it is. I'm interested to see where it goes. Valve obviously have a plan, because they wouldn't do something like this. They know people want Half-Life 3.
my
They
God.
know people want
What they-
Half-Life 3.
what they
You wouldn't
need
do
to
something
do-
like this if you didn't have that plan.
What they need to do is just lean into the fact that you can't really move. And so what they should do is create a version of what they should have done with Half-Life Alyx is Alyx has had her legs horrifically crippled in a previous accident. And so she's in a wheelchair. And you know the little knobs on the electric wheelchairs? That's essentially just a stick on a controller. So at that
Yeah.
point, you can play VR from your chair, empathize with a character that's in a wheelchair, navigate all of these horrific obstacles, but in a chair, like you're dragging yourself up out of things and all over the place, while still feeling incredibly immersed and never feeling like you're cheating by skipping around and teleporting. You just it's what they it's a bit similar to what they call social disability, right? People, the idea is people aren't disabled. Society just makes them feel disabled because society isn't set up for people in wheelchairs. Like, for example, staircases, right? If there weren't staircases everywhere, then people in wheelchairs wouldn't feel like they were disadvantaged if everything had been built with ramps right from the beginning. So games should stop feeling forced like you have to walk everywhere. Instead, play as a tree. All right? Play as somebody that is static and can only teleport around. Play as a mage that is only a torso, and he can either stomp his way around or he can teleport. Like, just lean into it.
People wouldn't like that.
Why?
People like to move.
But you can't move in the games anyway. So at least design the characters to reflect the mechanics.
But yeah,
Don't design the characters as Olympic athletes and then force them to walk slowly.
Yeah, I can respect
Otherwise, you're
the
going
hustle
back to
from Valve, though.
What's the thing? What's the arcade games where it auto walks for you when you just have to click? What are those called?
Like time.
Yeah, like Time Crisis. You're just playing Time
Crisis.
Crisis at that point, and we've gone back in time. Just lean into it.
I applaud your creativity and your inclusiveness.
Are you telling me
John.
you wouldn't want to play as Professor X in an X-Men movie, an X-Men video game, where you're wheelchairing around and like controlling shit with your mind? That would be dope, and it would fit this genre so well.
Holy shit. You're actually pretty smart.
Maybe.
Never thought that.
Yeah,
I'd also just
you would
prefer to
love
play as Wolverine and cut shit.
Yeah, well, Wolverine without legs. You can play as Wolverine
No,
without legs.
no. It's not how it
But then
works.
his adamantium. He
I
can't
think
cut
it's
the
a cool
adamantium off.
idea that you've got, Josh, but it's the limiting factor of VR, you know? I don't know if you meant it as a cool idea.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
genuinely think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm watching it now, and it's clear that Valve have put a lot of effort into this game. But the question people are going to be asking is, it says very much like Valve to try and, I guess, push the boundaries on games and tech, but because they literally don't have to rely on whether or not the game sells well. It's like one of those. It's still a rare company where they're just making what they think is cool,
Yeah.
and rolling with it because they print billions from the Steam market from idiots like me who keep buying CS keys to try and get a knife. Still haven't got a knife.
I tell you what else you could do as well. If you really, I hate to keep going back to this, but if you want to play as somebody that doesn't have legs, just play Animal Crossing because Tom Nook's gonna break your kneecaps every day anyway for not paying your loads.
That's a transition right there.
Wait, before we go to that was an incredible. Before we go there, can I just say that I want to give props to Valve for still just being like a genuine, honest game company that just like we just want to make cool games. We don't care if it's they sell the most or whatever. We just want to make cool ass games and develop technology. Because too much these days, people just trying to push prices on you and sell shit. Valve is like, yo, we're gonna do the dopest VR game possible, and we don't care if it sells well. We just want to be doing cool shit. So that's cool.
Yeah, I could give him that for sure. Especially considering, I mean, but let's not forget though that they still haven't done anything with Team Fortress 2, which could have been an actual gold mine for them if they put any kind of effort.
I mean, it was a gold mine.
Isn't this the first game that they've released in ages? They've just been working Steam for so long, just making money off the Steam store.
No, they released Artifact.
Oh yeah.
But I tell you though,
I had forgotten about that.
Recently, they posted an update to the Artifact blog post, March 20th.
Wow.
Okay.
The first post.
How did I miss that?
First post in a year.
I don't think you're checking in on that much.
Of them saying, expect more news after the launch of Half-Life Alyx. We are making significant changes. And Gabe Newell did an interview as well, saying that they were surprised by the negative reactions or just the lack of success towards the game because it was like a fluid game, like it worked, but they were surprised by how it flopped. But I think that's just arrogance coming from Valve. They don't realize the industry has changed. They don't really have as much name value as they used to. Like they used to be this this household brand of video games, but it's been so long that the Zoomers, the market that you're trying to capitalize on, the boomers can't keep you afloat. You know what I mean? Like
I genuinely think it was just because it was not very good.
Yeah, I don't think it was a good game. It was polished, but like it was almost like so complicated that it was like it was trying to be the fucking the new 5-head game for card games. But card games already have a 5-head game. It's called Magic the Gathering. They don't need another one, and the players are just going to keep playing that because it's the format they've always known.
Because when you look at what they're doing with Underlords is fantastic. Like, even though I do like Teamfight Tactics a little bit more, Underlords is still a game that I'll turn on on my phone and just sit there and play.
I haven't played either of them in a while.
Yeah.
But with Artifact, Gabe Newell said that they are essentially making so many radical changes to Artifact. They don't want to give up on it, but they're making so many radical changes to it that it is essentially going to be Artifact 2. So they want it to be a reboot in people's mind. They're making that many fundamental sweeping changes to it.
You see, and I'm okay with that partly because it's like they made a complete game that they felt like was a good game, put it out there. Turns out it just did not have the stickiness that they wanted. So then they went back to the drawing board and said, okay, this is what we got to do to like, let's go ahead and make these changes. And hopefully this is something that people would enjoy. And I'm hoping that they also bring in like notable CCG players too, to get their feedback, because surely like there's a lot of valuable information out there from people who play these games in this genre every single day. But then on the flip side, you got instances like No Man's Sky or Anthem, where like No Man's Sky was just so rushed. It was such an ambitious project, but then they never quit on it. They stayed on the game, even though they got pressured by Sony. And once the game came out, then Sony kind of just like dropped it like a bad habit and then walked away. Hello Games still committed because they were like, no, we had a vision for this game. We're going to accomplish this
Apparently
vision.
it's quite good now, right?
Yes, it is. It is substantially better. And an Anthem is doing the same thing. Apparently there's like this big thing. I watched this YouTuber, big fan of
Anthem is out?
Yeah, Anthem is out. For strategy, they did this. He did this whole coverage on Anthem thing, and then he talked about Anthem next. And apparently, like Anthem flopped so hard. It was like such a black eye for BioWare. But they went like radio silent on the game, and everyone thought that just EA killed the project. But EA actually continued to remain committed to it and said, "All right, we're gonna get this thing right." Now, granted, you could say, well, why don't they just get it right from the get-go? And I totally agree with that. But in the instance of a game like Artifact, you come out with a game that you think everyone will genuinely enjoy, and then it turns out they don't. And you're at that point, you can make a decision to either just drop it or, or try and improve it. And I applaud them for at least trying to improve it. And also it keeps
Yeah.
people employed and
Huh.
keeps their jobs going,
Yeah, there was a patch put out this February.
Yeah, so that was like the precursor patch. There's going to be a massive Anthem update that's going to come out apparently that will change the entire game around. Another game where the developers stuck with it and they've had massive success was Rainbow Six Siege. That game was a hot pile of trash when it came out. Laggy as fuck. It had issues all over the place. Like it just was so rushed, you can tell. Now, that's like one of the best FPS games that's out there at this point in time. You've been playing it, John. Division, another game from Ubisoft that came out. It was good, but it wasn't quite Destiny. They stuck with it, made Division great. Division 2 came out, same kind of issue, but they continue to improve upon it. Like, I like the fact that devs are sticking with their games. Sure, I would like for them to make it great out of the gate, but I'm also okay with the fact that they're sticking with their games.
Do you think that this is a result of the modern times that we live in with video games? Because it used to be the case where the only news you'd get on new video games would be a magazine, at a corner shop. You'd open up the video game magazine. The internet didn't really exist in that capacity. People weren't looking up. They're not as connected as they are now. Do you think that the part of the reason we're getting so many rushed games is because everyone's so interconnected? They expect constant news updates and they want it now. And like you set up people's expectations that way.
I honestly think it's more the business side of it. They're just forcing developers to rush things. You've heard so many times in the past where like marketing or salespeople have just been like, hey, we're setting this release date. The game better be ready. And the developers are like, holy shit. Like, how are we going to do this? I mean, dude, like even look at like BFA, like the recent expansion for World of Warcraft. It was hot trash. Like streamers were playing the beta and they were like, this is like dead on arrival. Like they were playing the beta for expansion and just like, this is the most trash World of Warcraft expansion of all time. And they were like, we need to massively overhaul what Blizzard is doing because it's just so bad. So Blizzard had like a bunch of design systems in place for the beta on BFA. And then they had to just like do a 180 on like systems they have developed for like a year plus because they were so hot trash in the beta. And then the live game was just like poorly designed systems that were rushed for like 3-4 months because what they had been working on for like a year or so was just so bad that they had to rush things to the live expansion. And it just flopped massively. Yeah.
It's such an issue. The industry has a big problem with that. But I think to your point, Bren, the industry has changed dramatically. And the internet obviously is a huge driver of that because yeah, you're right. Back in the day, the only updates you got on stuff were like from game magazines or like actually that was it, like game magazines, and then maybe like when IGN became prominent, then they started posting stuff online and they were giving people updates frequently, but not as frequent as it is right now. Where like you're literally getting information the moment it drops from these devs. And now you're at a point where the devs are just like, we're just going to put it out there ourselves. And then all you industry folk can go ahead and cover it on your own. And that has been, I think, the more interesting part about all this, because influencers have dramatically altered the coverage of video games.
Landscape.
Yeah, because we're talking about Half-Life Alyx, but we're not talking about anything that it was for that particular game that was coming out of, journalists or news sites. We're talking about it strictly from what we've seen people play on Twitch.
Yeah.
That has been a huge influencing factor. And it's so much to the point now where it's like, if you don't have a influencer strategy around your game, like COD Warzone, by the way, if you don't have an influencer strategy around your game, people are just not going to be nearly as invested. Like Tarkov was such a unique experience because it was something that was built up purely by individuals that just enjoyed the game. People were not paid to play that game because it was such a small studio. And then obviously drops helped, right? And that was really smart on Battlestate's perspective to release those drops because it influenced those big streamers for people to play and participate in the game. But once COD came around with the bag, you saw all of the streamers that were playing Tarkov on a daily basis dip and go play COD because they were getting paid by Activision to go and play that game.
Yeah.
Can't blame the influencers, by the way. Can't blame them
No.
because you got to get the bag. That's it. Facts. But it's not natural. That being said, COD Warzone is fantastic. I love the game. It's awesome. It's fun to play. I still think Apex is like one of the better BRs that's out there, but COD Warzone in a very quick amount of time like leapt above the pack. But yeah,
And
man,
they did the
influencer
same.
marketing's everything.
Apex did the same thing. Like I still remember
true.
the
Apex
first
did the
day I
same
saw
thing.
Apex, where just like Seagull was getting paid to play Apex, and then a bunch of streamers started playing like Shroud and stuff, and I was like, holy shit, what is this Apex game? And everyone just jumped on the hype train because they were so good with their influencer strategy. It was brilliant.
Yeah. So you don't really get that natural stickiness anymore. There's a few games actually carry that, and I would say of those few games, it's games like Doom, where like people are just gonna play it because killing demons is always fun.
Yeah.
And like
that
Animal
is the
Crossing.
boomers keeping things afloat as well. I have not heard honestly anything really about Doom because it has just been overwhelmed by news about Animal Crossing. But I don't know.
So I've been playing
But
Doom.
also, I mean,
Doom is fantastic, flat out.
It's
fantastic
a
game.
it's very like a boomer game, you know.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It means that the people who play it are the people who have grown up with Doom and arena FPS fans, and that trends towards an older demographic compared to Animal Crossing, which is I like to plant turnips. I just see fucking people talking about turnips all the time. Like, I don't fucking get it. It just seems like a worse Stardew Valley. That might be a hot take, but from what I've seen of it, I don't know.
So you're
It's just a
actually
Wii The Sims, dude.
you're not entirely wrong about Animal Crossing because, like, for example, yesterday I bought the game a few days ago, but I was like streaming and playing Doom, and so I wasn't really getting into it. And also, I'm not a boomer, okay? I just like FPS games. So
I mean, I like arena FPS games. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does trend towards an older generation.
So yesterday I decided me and Cynthia will play. I will play Animal Crossing, and I was like, Cynthia, if you just want to watch it, like, go on ahead. Cynthia's my wife, for those of you who may not know.
We got a
And
wrap soon as well. We
will.
Meeting and
Basically, point of the story is we were playing the game, and Animal Crossing is not like a straight up linear experience. Like, you have to wait for things to happen. So when you do something, it will take like a day for something to happen, like a real life day for something to happen in the game. And as I was playing, Cynthia's like, that's it? Like, why would I play this when I could just play The Sims and just continue to play? And it's like, well, no, because Nintendo wants people to put the game down, and then they want you to come back because that's their gameplay loop, you know? And I think that it's interesting you say it's like a worse Stardew Valley because, yeah, Stardew Valley gives you everything outright, but Animal Crossing is just so good, man.
Why is it so good?
It's like drugs, bro. Nintendo makes
Why?
drugs.
It has to be the social experience, right? It has to be like their take on classic WoW.
Go on, John.
No, I don't think it's like classic WoW. I think it's just because classic WoW is dead. I think Animal Crossing.
Bro,
is just
wait, hold on. Why are we comparing Animal
This was
Crossing?
a social experience.
Yes.
And so what happened in classic WoW was like you wanted to acquire more gear, right? So you could look better to your friends and like have a good time playing with your friends.
Oh, okay.
And like upgrades mattered. But now in WoW, upgrades don't matter anymore. So people don't care about gear, and so they don't care about the social aspect as much. It's like I don't want to go there. But Animal Crossing is like a social experience, and you want to keep getting better and better stuff so you can impress and help your friends. And so it's just like a rabbit hole where two aspects meet.
And also to add on to that, you can now go to your friends' islands and see what they're doing.
That's
and,
pretty cool.
and so I think because of that, it also adds that social element to it. Like Nintendo came out with a mini direct today as of this recording, and I thought it was awesome. There was a ton of information there. Like they're adding one of the ARMS fighters, Super Smash Brothers, some Pokemon Sword and Shield updates. But the thing that got me mad hyped.
Really?
Yeah. The thing that got me dumb hyped though was the fact that they're adding Bunny Day and Earth Day to Animal Crossing, so I can get some new stuff from a house. You know what I mean? Because now I'm gonna have the eggs all over the place.
I don't understand what you mean. I don't get the game at all. I don't.
No, you know what I mean.
Why you want?
You know what I mean.
No, I simply. I mean, I understand that I'm in the minority, but I don't get this entire genre. I don't.
Do you buy skins in Overwatch?
Nope.
Okay, so then you're just not the target market, freaking.
I know,
brains. Just move on.
I think part of it is we live in an age where
oh god, we live in a society.
people get a game and they min-max the shit out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like they play a game and they just want to unlock the most efficient way to play. That's how people play games these days. It used to be back in the day when people played WoW Classic or RuneScape back then. They didn't care about playing it with maximum efficiency. They just played it and had fun, and they just wandered around. And they might do a bit of farming. They might kill a monster or two. But that's it. They weren't really thinking about the most efficient way to complete tasks. I think these kind of games promote a style like that again. Almost like it doesn't really matter if you progress really quickly, because who the hell are you trying to impress, you know? Like, you should just play the game at your own pace and enjoy it and have fun. I think that's why those games are kind of popular these days.
I don't know.
And that's what Nintendo does really well.
I've seen Mitch and Zoe sweating about who can catch the most fish.
Yeah, and they are part of the problem, Josh. They're actually part of the problem.
So Mitch and Zoe, if you are listening, you are part of the problem.
Why can't you just enjoy the game? You know, just slow it down. Stardew Valley. I've also seen people sweat Stardew Valley, and they're like, "You've got to get fertilizer straight away. You must immediately get 300 wood to repair the bridge so you can pick up the shells to create the super fertilizer, so then you can maximize your profits as early as possible." And I'm just like, bro, I don't give a fuck. I'm fishing in the spring. I'm supposed to be planting shit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, bro. I'm all about just chilling.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like there are certain games where you want to be as efficient as possible. But Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, that ain't it. Just do it and have fun. You know, that's exactly why. That's exactly why I'm gonna bring it back. Doom is the best because it's just about having fun, killing demons. That's it. That's why I think these two games, and even Half-Life Alyx, represent truly, I think, a callback to what we should be enjoying games for, especially now that we're all in quarantine and we're all in our homes and the apocalypse is upon us. I think like we should all just continue to simply enjoy video games. That's it. Just have a good time. Like, where do you gotta go? You got time, you know?
True.
Josh, you're muted again.
I love muting myself.
Change your fucking key.
True. I do need to change the key that it's on. What's a good key for a mute button?
I don't know. Get a stream
deck. I don't
deck.
use a mute button.
Like something on your
numpad? Oh,
yeah,
of course. I should just put it on my stream deck.
Bro, you're such a freaking...
God,
oh, God.
Horrific.
Animal Crossing is like doing pottery with your friends.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I suppose. Except, at least in pottery, you have something physical that you've created at the end. You haven't created anything playing Animal Crossing. You haven't worked on a skill. You haven't developed yourself. You haven't challenged yourself. You're just...
screw you, bro. Okay,
home decor. Can't wait to go develop my Counter-Strike aim skill.
No, I'm saying compared to pottery.
Yeah, but you know, it's also virtual instead of you actually have to go to a pottery place and do pottery things, and you can just be in your bedroom.
You think I need to go outside, boomer? You think I need to go outside right now? I don't need to go outside when I could just go to my island of Crooklyn. Yeah, that's why I named my island Crooklyn. Because we get Crook in Crooklyn. Okay, we get Crunk in Crooklyn.
We gotta
go.
Incredible.
You gotta.
Okay. That's going to do it. They have a meeting to go to, and I have more Animal Crossing to play, folks. So thank you so much for listening to this week's Forehead Podcast. If you want to check us out, make sure you follow us on Spotify. You can rate, review on Apple Podcasts, as well as any other place where you listen to your podcast. Goodness, because we are literally everywhere. If you want to leave a comment, we'll talk about it in the next episode. Kind of like what we read earlier from Not Vid Lozo, who left the longest possible review. If you want to get your review read, perhaps make it into a book. There you have it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.